Hi, today we are going to explore and teach you how to remove a CV end from a Polaris razor. Most brands are going to be the same, but there is a few tricks that if you know will help you. First off, got to have your axle out of the car. Next thing you're going to need is a few tools. You'll need some side cuts. If you have them, the supply clamps that we use a actual crimping tool, but you can also use your side cuts to do that. You just have to be a little bit carefuler. Next, and most important, is a brass hammer or some sort of dead blow. You don't want to use a steel hammer because it can damage the part. The nice thing about brass is it's going to be softer than the metal you're hitting, so it won't damage it, but this little guy will be your best friend when it comes to removing a CV. First thing that you're going to want to do is remove the existing clips, and that's what these side cuts are for. Just simply rip them off, cut them off, so that you can get to the greasy portion of the CV. Hence the rubber gloves. You don't have to wear them, but I like to, so I want to keep my hands soft. So pay attention. Next, if you do have a vise, it is going to be very handy. If not, you better have a strong friend that can hold on to it. So I'd recommend a vise. So once you get the boot out of the way, you can see here into the CV joint. And what we're going to be doing is removing the axle from the inner portion of the CV. And it is a little greasy, as you can see. So be careful and try not to get on your clothes. So, you want to come over here, Chad, to this side now. Okay, so we've put the axle in the vise, and if you have a nice painted surface, clamp down farther so you don't mess up your powder coat or your finish where it's going to be seen. If you clamp somewhere inside where the boot is, you won't see it if you scratch it up at all. And what we've got is we've got this hanging straight down, and if you can see right here where I'm wiping this grease away, in there is the star, and that is what is holding onto the axle. And there's a little C-clip in there that is holding everything in place. And this is where your brass hammer comes into play. What you're going to do is you want to hit right on that star with your brass hammer so that the most direct force can remove the end. And hold on to it with your other hand so that when you smack it off, it doesn't fall on the ground and hit you in the foot. Once it starts moving, you're good to go. Once it's off, set it to the side, pull your axle back out of the vise, and you can slide your boot off, and it will pull off the majority of the grease with it and keep it in the boot. That way you don't lose any of that precious grease in there. And the next step we're going to show you is how to put one down. Now we're going to put the CV back on. So we have our new axle here in the vise in a nice vertical position so that it's level. And a little trick, you see here there's these floating C-clips that help hold the axle into the CV end. We're going to use a zip tie as a little spring compressor. This is a nice little trick. But before we do that, you want to put your boot back on. I almost forgot. You want to do that backwards. Put your boot on first. It's going to get a little bit of grease on there probably, but it's okay. You needed that grease anyway. Then you're going to slide your zip tie over that little C-clip and pull it nice and tight. Now, the idea behind that is it's going to hold that clip compressed so that when we slide the CV end on, it will remain compressed until it starts into the CV end and slides into its groove. It can be tricky if you don't do that. And it doesn't always slide on the first time, so as you watch me do this, usually it goes on nice and smooth, but if you hit it a couple times and it's not moving, just stop and make sure that that hasn't slid off the clip. If it has, cut it off, put a new zip tie on, and start over, because you don't want to crush that clip or bend that clip, because then you're going to have to find a new one. All the axles that we supply come with brand new clips, So if you do damage one, you can steal one off of your stock axle, so you have a spare that way. Wipe off a little bit of this grease here. And you just want to start it down on there, and you can kind of feel it. See, right now it's started on the splines. You don't want to push down too hard on it, because then you'll slide it off of that zip tie. And then use your brass hammer or a dead blow and just drive straight down onto it until it stops, and it should slide nice and smooth until you hear the solid sound. And now we're down on all the way. Our zip tie is moved down out of the way, and you can use your side cuts now to reach in here and cut that off, drop it in the garbage. You stick your finger in here, you can feel to make sure that that clip hasn't come down by chance. But as long as nothing's there, your end's on now, and you can commence to putting your boot on. The clips for the boots are pretty self-explanatory. The ones we provide are a simple crimp system where you just wrap the strap around it. I like to cut off some of the excess with my side cuts so that it doesn't get in the way when I'm doing it, but you can leave them full length if you want, but you just slide your clamp around there and pull it finger tight into one of the grooves. Oops. Like so. Maybe. And then you can use your side cuts, or if you have a set of these pliers that are made for this style of clamp, pull it tight, and then make sure to check your end, because sometimes when you pull it tight, the end will lift up, and if it does, just tap it back in so it's flat. And you're back together, do both ends, and repeat that 4 times and you're done.